excited to have on the head baseball coach at John A. Logan Junior College, Coach Kyle Supernant. More affectionately known kind of in the business as Soup. So great to have you on. This is a long time coming, and feel very privileged to have you on. You've done such a good job down there, and if correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, but it's your 10th year going on, your 10th year as head coach, 16th overall at John A. Logan, and you guys have just been kind of that model of success year after year, always competing for the GRAC title. And that's a really good league. Like I don't know if enough people realize how good that league is. Just pretty much, there's a handful of teams that could come out and win that every single year. I mean, you guys are always in the mix. I know Lakeland last year had a really good year. You got Wabash Valley, you got Olney, you got Lincoln Trail, you got Swick, you got Kaskaskia. I'm probably missing a few, but regardless, that's a long-winded way of saying thanks for joining us and hope you're well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. I looking forward to it, and certainly appreciate the opportunity.
So, how are you holding up right now? Because we're coming off a weekend where it wasn't too bad up here in my neck of the woods in the Chicagoland area, but down in southern Illinois, you guys were forecasted to get a ton of snow, maybe some ice. I see you got to have power down there, so everything's good?
We're good. We got 10 to 12 inches of snow. We certainly ain't playing a
Wow.
doubleheader today. But we've been fortunate. Early January when we got back to campus, we had about a week's worth of 55, 60-degree days. So we were able to get outside some. And this last 2 days, campus is closed today. Like I said, we've got 10 to 12 inches of snow. Fortunately, no ice came with it, but we are definitely going to utilize the indoor facility here in the next coming week as we get ready to open up.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the main reasons that, we thought having you on would be so great this time of year is, I mean, your season is right around the corner. Opening day is supposed to be this upcoming Friday. So I think we had Coach Holm on with Illinois State and just talking about how wild it is letting your guys go back home for winter break, Christmas, New Year's, and then bringing them back and trying to get them game ready. So, like, what are some things you guys do? What are some things that you guys ask your guys to do when they're home to get them ready to go this early in the season?
Yeah, we certainly send them home with a plan, and let them know, hey, look, when you get back, you're going to have a bullpen, and then the first weekend you're back, we're going live. And so we send them home with a plan, and then check on them periodically throughout the course of break. But inevitably, you can always tell the guys who've done stuff, the guys who haven't done as much, and the guys who didn't do exactly what they should have done. And then they try and play catch up when they get back. But it's a scary month or so as you send everybody home and then expect them to do what they're supposed to do and come back. And for us, I mean, you're opening up in 3.5, 4 weeks. And, we're going to try and get as many live ABs and do everything we can to prepare those guys. And certainly there's a lot that goes into preparing them to be ready for live ABs. So we don't come in and ramp somebody up too fast or, extend them too quick, too soon. And next thing you know, they're shut down for 3 to 4 weeks because we've gone too fast. But so we like to send them home, obviously with a plan, but we typically start our on-ramp before we head out for break. So they come back after Thanksgiving break, they've started their on-ramp, and then send them home with the rest of their plan. And then hopefully they're ready to go. And in the most part, our guys do a really good job because, again, we're all kind of searching for one common goal, and they've done a great job being ready to go. And it's important for the hitters, obviously, but I would clearly say from a health standpoint, more important for the pitchers.
Coach, one thing I wanted to touch on, this summer, or I guess fall for you guys' scout day, Pete and I were down there, and we were lucky enough to get to go check out your guys' new indoor facility. And I think every year we're there, it's just like your guys' field is always just so nice. It's one of the best we've ever we go to. And then adding that facility you guys have, it's just incredible. How beneficial is that for you guys now? On a day like today when you're saying you got all that snow and it's cold and you get this, bad Illinois weather here to start the year, how beneficial is that now? I think this is your first year with it. So, getting to utilize that.
And we'll find out in a week or so, I guess. No, it's been really, really good. Just for several different aspects, right? Recruiting has been great. We feel really good with our recruiting class for next year, and this is the first year we've gotten to recruit to the actual facility. We've, only been able to recruit to the idea of the facility or drawings of the facility up to this point, and so now being able to recruit to it and bring people in and families in and walk through that facility and see some of the, open eyes like, whoa, this is going on at this level, has been fun and exciting. So that's certainly a big difference maker for us. But as we progress into live at bats and things of that nature, it's been a game changer for us. The facility that we used before was great, and we were certainly grateful for it, but it was low ceiling, it was compact, and just the feeling of live at bats is so much different now than it has been in years past, or even trying to go in a tunnel like that. For me, that's the worst, trying to take live at bats in a cage. We're able to see the ball fly now, and then with the technology, we've got hit tracks, and so no more cage bombs that pitchers are saying that's a fly out, hitters are saying I got it, like we know. And so it's created a little competitive competitive atmosphere during our live ABs, and then just on the day to day, I mean, the guys being able to go in there and get work in and swings in on their own, get some mound work, and guys doing mobility work in there, and all the resources and tools that we have inside of it. And then again, you pair it with the locker room, which is every bit of a Division I style, pro style locker room with the TVs, the sound system, the nutrition bar right there. And so guys are hanging out more, guys are creating better relationships because of it. And so it's made a difference in our program already. It's been fun to get creative and figure out the things we can do in there in terms of practice to simulate game-like reps. And so, the longer we're in it, the more things that we'll find that we can simulate and do to better ourselves and prepare ourselves. But it's been a game changer for us. And I think obviously the longer we're in it, the more benefits we'll see.
I mean, we've seen your facility now the past few years, and the indoor facility was obviously amazing. Like, your facilities are on par with Division I programs. So what I would like to know is, how do you feel that your conference compares to Division I, Division II? Because like we always preach, like, you guys, these kids in high school, go watch like a JUCO game and see how good these kids are. Like, when we go to John A. Logan, look at what we post. You're not going to see any arms like under 88, and if you do, they probably got their left-handed, and they probably got breaking balls and change-ups and all that. So I would love to hear you kind of just riff on that for a little bit.
Yeah, man, I think it's tough to ultimately compare. And I'm not a guy that's going to get into comparison and this and that, but I think there certainly are some things that are unknown about our level. I think you could take the upper end of our level and go compete at those other levels. I'm not saying through the course of 56 games. Don't mistake that. I'm not sitting here trying to say that we're going to go compete every day for 56 straight in a Division I conference, right? Because there's several factors that are involved. I think post-COVID, people realized how much experience plays, right? In college baseball, I don't have the numbers, but college baseball is older than ever. And so age, experience are huge factors in that. And we're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. I mean, we see a big difference between freshmen and sophomores. I tell people all the time, like, that first month, I don't care how good that incoming freshman is, he still looks a little bit lost and a little bit behind. The good ones close that gap a lot quicker, but sometimes it takes a full year for guys to close that gap, and they come back as a sophomore and they look completely different. And so that's exciting. That's a fun thing to see. But when you're talking at the Division I level, you're talking, 22, 23-year-old guys who have 400 to 600 college at-bats, who have 150 innings under their belt. That makes a big difference. And so the other thing I think that's a big difference is the overall depth. We've got talent. I mean, we're fortunate right now. We've got 15 guys currently signed to the next level, all Division I guys. And I'm ecstatic about it. That's awesome. So we've got Division I guys running all over the field. Mix in the guys that'll sign in the spring and the guys in the freshman class. We may have 31 D1 guys on this roster, 25 D1 guys on this roster. But the difference is also the depth at that level. the guy that's not playing currently at the Division I level, because he's behind a guy who's got 600 at bats under his belt and has been a all conference, all American, whatever. That dude's likely going to be right up there for an all conference, all American. Like, that's, for me, that's the biggest difference is the overall depth, the age, and the experience. But on any given day, like, we've got the ability, we've got the talent at the upper end of junior college to go play at many different levels. So I'm not going to compare the two, or three levels, but I would say we certainly have talent that is running around the Division I level. It's just those other factors that make a big difference for us.
Well, and with all of that said, we've had some coaches on the podcast talking about a lot of different things, and we talked to players before all of our events, coach, and don't get enamored with the Roman numeral, after division. Like, go to the best fit. And I think there's misconceptions about every level, but there's probably some misconceptions about JUCO. And I kind of want to tee you up here. Like, you mentioned the age of these, 4-year schools, these Division I athletes. Like, what are some benefits to go in JUCO? I don't know if enough people realize, like, the fall season, the age of the players you're going against when you walk on campus. Like, what are some things that you think are some of the biggest benefits for a player to look at the JUCO level, whether it's your place or somewhere else, just the JUCO level in general?
Yeah, you're dead on. I mean, I think, some of the things you just touched on, the age, right? Like, try and go and compete against a 22-year-old guy who's a grown man, right? And people don't realize, I don't think, the physicality that is required nowadays, and the difference between an 18 and a 22-year-old kid and a 22-year-old man. Like, there's a difference from a physicality makeup and a mental makeup, and that is, there's so much of that plays into your success on a baseball field. And so, I'm not saying from a skill set, that there's not junior college guys that have upper end skill sets that'll match any Division I guy. But it's understanding how to play. It's understanding what a college round of BP looks like. It's understanding what a college bullpen looks like. It's it's the experience, the seeing the number of pitches and understanding, the ability to be able to eliminate a pitch from somebody because he hasn't commanded it, or eliminate a side of the plate. And so there's just so many things that at our level, benefit a young student athlete. You get that experience by playing, right? Against guys your age. You've got, the fall season where you can play 14 dates. And then you got inter squads on top of that. I mean, our guys are getting 120 to 150 at bats in the fall, between inter squads, between outside competition, maybe even just live at bats. Like, the longer I'm in it, the more I realize how much that experience helps, and just seeing pitches on a day-to-day basis. And so, you match up the development of the skill with also the development of the mind and the physicality. That's the game changer for our level. And again, you're going to compete against guys that are your age, and you don't have to have your back up against the wall and feel like you have to go be a superhuman, because if you don't pass that guy up, you're not going to come off the bench. Well, at our level, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's competition at all levels, especially in any good program. There's going to be competition, and you've got to perform at the end of the day. But it's a lot easier to perform against guys your age, or compete against guys your age. And so there's so many benefits at our level, that help guys prepare themselves for the next level.
One thing I wanted to ask, if I'm a 17, 18-year-old kid, junior or senior in high school, and you're looking at JUCO, your ultimate goal is to play at a 4-year school after junior college. What traits, I guess, do you guys see in, you said you have 15 players committed to a Division I program right now. What traits do you see in guys like that? They come to John A., they're developing, whatever it is. Like, what traits, what things do they have in common that get them to that 4-year level, compared to maybe guys that don't end up at a school like that.
Yeah, I think, success leaves clues, and so those guys, it sounds cliche, but those are the guys that the GPA is good. They get after it in the weight room. They handle their study tables. We don't have issues with them in the apartments. Those are the guys getting extra swings, getting extra dry work, mound work, core velo belt stuff, and just they're the guys that put in the extra work. And there's no surprise. It's no coincidence that the guys that do that are the guys that have the most success at our level and then also have the most success at the next level. I tell our guys all the time, there's a handful of guys, because we're fortunate to have some talented players. There's a handful of guys on our roster that could come in, do the bare minimum, and have success at our level. It's just fortunately they're on our team and they're talented, and that's the way it is. But ultimately, is that what they're preparing for? And so because if they do that and try and have that success at the next level, it ain't going to happen. And so they've got to put in that extra work. And so those are the traits that we see. Those guys that, again, it sounds cliche, but it's just, man, put it in the work. And then it's the guys that buy in. It's the guys that want to be coached, the guys that are willing to be coached, and coached hard at times. And those are the guys that, ultimately end up having the most success for us.
Coach, you guys obviously have a very broad reach, right? Especially in Illinois. Like, you've long been known as a powerhouse in Illinois, all the way up to the Chicagoland area. So getting kids from up here and like other states like Kentucky, Indiana, wherever else you get guys, how do you guys kind of deal with that culture shock to not only just being like now you're at a junior college, right? Now you're in Carbondale, Illinois, which is a lot different than, say, Downers Grove, right? So is there a way that you help these kids kind of acclimate to John A. Logan when they get there, just coming from a different environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things about junior college, people talk about it a lot, is like, you got to love it and it's the grind or whatever. Like, I don't necessarily get in on all that. But what I'll tell you is, like, you're around your teammates more at this level than any other level, I would imagine, right? Because, again, our ability to have team practices in the fall for a longer period of time, our dudes all live together. They live in the exact same apartment complex, which not necessarily happens all the time at the 4-year level. You got one house over here, another house over here. You got some guys in apartments, some guys in the dorms. So like, these guys are around each other all the time. And so that certainly helps. Getting to the routine helps. But I think ultimately, more importantly, and we try and, start this during the recruiting process, is the relationships that we have with the guys. And I think when you build those relationships, it helps people feel comfortable. When you build those relationships, it helps eliminate some of that culture shock. They can come talk to us. And it's one of the first things that we talk about in our team meeting on day one is, hey, listen, if you're feeling homesick, if you're feeling, a certain type of way, come talk to us, because we've heard it. Like, this is 18 years in college baseball now. We've probably heard it, and it's not going to be new. It won't be the first time. So come talk to us. And so I think that helps. And then we pretty much hit the ground running. We don't have a month worth of individuals where things are slower and whatnot. We go like a week's worth of individuals, and then we tee it up. We're inter-squadding that next weekend. Then heck, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, we're playing games. And then a week after that, 2 weeks after that, we're at the Puma. And so it starts and goes quickly. And I think that helps with some of that culture shock and maybe some of the difference, and for some of the transfers and some of the guys that were just maybe at a Power 4, and it's like, oh man, here I am at junior college. I think that helps with, like, all of a sudden their eyes are opened up and saying, whoa, there's some talent here. There's some ability here. Like, I can't just go through the motions. I got to get after it a little bit. And so I think, like I said, I think those things help with some of that culture shock, some of that difference from where they're from.
So you've been doing this a long time, building rosters, year in and year out at the JUCO level. My question kind of stems from, 10 years ago compared to now, constructing a roster, transfers. You guys have always, mixed in with some transfers here and there from what I understand in years past. But since COVID, since the transfer portal, have you had to be more careful with, hey, we're going to take this many high school guys, we're going to leave this many open for summer transfers. Like we know how the transfer portal has affected the Division One level, especially certain programs. But what has it done to the JUCO level and you guys in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal is the transfer portal itself is fine. It's the one-time transfer rule, right? And guys, which is no longer one time, it feels like, but it's the ability for guys to transfer from D1 to D1, and we've gone through different cycles where, you know, every phone call you made was like, yep, okay, we've got so and so leaving, and they were open to junior college. Of course, I don't know what the year was, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever. Like if they were leaving to D1, they had to go junior college or sit out a year. And some would sit out, but almost everybody you called had interest. Then we've gone through the cycle where you got to turn over more rocks because those guys are wanting to stay at the Division One level. And so it seems like you got to make more phone calls. It's changed certainly, but what I think we're starting to see is not that we've ever truly relied on the portal, but we've certainly been heavier in years. I mean, we this year is a smaller class, especially at the break. I felt like things were pretty slow. But what I think we're seeing is a more physical and more ready high school athlete as well, because roster limits, portal, all that. And I think maybe people are starting to understand like junior college may be a good route for me. But what we're seeing, I think, is guys that are now on our roster and having success that 5, 6, 7 years ago we weren't sniffing because they were going to go be on a Division One roster. Maybe we get them back in a year after they redshirt or things of that nature, but at some point we weren't getting them out of high school, and so that has changed some. Where I think we're starting to get a more game ready freshman, which is obviously exciting and good for our level in general.
Along the same lines of that, I guess, with these guys, these high school guys you bring into your program, I feel like you guys have always had, John A. Logan, in my eyes, has always been one of those schools that kids go to and then they end up going to a big 4-year school. What are you guys doing for these high school kids that come into John A. to develop them and get them into that prospect that's ready for, a school like Louisville or Illinois or any of those Division I programs?
And I think there's a lot of factors that play into that, and we're not out here, trust me, we're not out here reinventing the wheel or some magic fairy dust, but I think ultimately what's one of the things that we take a lot of pride in is our relationship with our players, and I think when you build those relationships and they're strong relationships, now you have the ability to coach them, and you can push them and you can coach them hard when you need to, you can love them when you need to, so I think ultimately that's where a lot of our success is rooted, is the relationships. And then when you pair that with the facilities, the resources that we have, and, we're certainly confident in our day-to-day work and how we go about our business, and in our practice plan and how we put it together and how, the situations we put our guys into to develop, but you start talking, the weight room facility and our strength and conditioning programming and then, like I said, our day-to-day practice, like, that stuff has been, instrumental for us in the development side of things. And then it all starts with an athlete, right? It all starts with guys that have skill and ability. We've been very fortunate that it's coming from, we're getting a lot of guys that are coming from good families that, have raised these guys the right way. And it allows us to coach them hard. It allows us to have high expectations for them, and they've done a really good job. And so our culture is really great right now. Our relationships with our guys are good. Guys work hard, and we enjoy being around each other. And so again, I think ultimately that's what leads to the development. Again, paired with the way we go about our business on the day-to-day basis.
Real quick, you talk about the way you go about your, business on a day-to-day basis. I would be curious to know if you have a certain style that you want your guys to play with. When they go on a weekend to John A. Logan, as an opposing team, they know what they're walking into. Like, do you have a certain motto or thing that you want your guys playing with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a certain motto or a creed or anything of that nature, right? But like, I think ultimately, I want guys, from a true philosophy, like we want to put pressure on guys, right? Like we want to bang the ball all over the yard, but take the extra base, score from first on the doubles, take a bunch of bags, and you've seen that in our, just reflected in our stats here over the last, 5 to 8 years. Um, it changes a little bit from year to year, right? Like at our level, I mean, we could, but it's hard to turn down some of the better talented players to say, well, no, we really want to run. Well, okay, this guy is going to leave the yard 15 times for us. We probably ought to mix that in. And so sometimes it changes where, we've got 3 to 4 power dudes in the lineup. I mean, we have, Ben Higdon, Vitas Valencius, and Jake Monroe all in the same lineup. Those guys aren't stealing a ton of bags. They're going to go leave the yard a ton. And so it changes a little bit based on what the roster makeup looks like. But overall, like I would consider us to be very blue collar, hard nosed type program. I mean, we've got nice things and we're fortunate to have those things, but it's not just a roll the ball out and here you go type program. Like we're going to get after it and we're going to get after you as coaches if you need to be, and we're going to expect a lot. And so for me, that would be my style just on the day to day. It's just like expecting a lot out of our guys, giving our guys everything we have, giving them a lot, but understanding like there's expectations, and you fall short of them, we're going to let you know. And so I guess that's our style, is just blue collar, hard nosed, like no excuses. You don't get it done, keep your head up, move on, let's get it done the next time type deal.
Okay. Well, Tyler, I don't know if you want to get in here and coach, if you're comfortable talking about maybe current roster or what it may be, what your team
Yeah,
looks like. But Tyler may have a question or two for you.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Coach, I feel like you guys got a ton of talented freshmen that came in this year. Would just love to know any of those guys that have a chance to maybe impact your team this spring.
Yeah, we do. And honestly, our makeup, like we were pretty freshman heavy last year. And so it's a sophomore heavy group this year, but we've got some freshmen that have really stepped in and done a really good job. And I'm going to leave some of them out, I'm sure. But just, starting with, like Hayden Bernruder. Bernie's done a great job. Obviously, he was pretty highly touted out of high school. Had a really good year as a true two-way guy. This fall he was just okay on the mound, just being honest. But he maybe has made the biggest jump out of anybody in our early spring live at bats. I mean, he's commanding the heck out of the baseball. He's going 90-92 from the left side and spinning the crap out of it. Like he's been really, really good this winter. So excited for him on the mound side of things, but from day one, he's swung the heck out of it. Everything that dude hits on the barrel is hard and loud. And so he's done a really good job. Cody Freitas from Bradley has done a really good job. He had a really good fall for us. And so looking for him to be, a guy that gets a bunch of innings as a freshman. Joe Glander. Joe Glander just threw his second live last week, and we're talking some electric stuff. Like we talked earlier about the difference between a freshman and a sophomore. Like if that dude continues on the track that he's on and gets a little bit more physical and just another year of understanding, like that might be a high level dude. Stuff is pretty dang good. Local kid here, Parker Poole, has done a really good job. And so we've got a lot of guys that are going to contribute as freshmen, and which is exciting for next year. And we feel really good about next year's class. And so you start pairing those things together, and obviously not trying to get ahead. I mean, heck, we're 4 days away from opening day or whatever it is, and still got a long ways to go here for this year. But you start looking, again, you're constantly looking a year or two ahead, and how we can kind of keep this thing going. You feel like we're in a really good spot.
Well, glad to hear Hayden's doing well. That was actually going to be the next question I asked you, but you hit on it. Like he was arguably maybe the most impressive player in the state last year as a high school senior. So glad to see he's kind of figuring things out on the mound after maybe a tough fall. Kind of shows how resilient that kid is. But that was my last question, was about Hayden. So I'll toss it back over to you guys.
Thank you, Coach, for your time, and really appreciate it. I know this is a busy time of year here with the season coming around the corner and getting your guys prepared and ready. You guys always play a really hard schedule as well. It's impressive to see. You're always challenging yourself and getting ready for the GRAC, and we'll be following you, and I'm sure I'll see you down the road in the summer, and we'll stay in touch. But thanks again, Coach, and best of luck.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all.